Welcome to Grawlix Nights, the Grawlix Podcast live show. I'm Randy.
I'm Melanie.
And I'm Jesse.
This is the one episode a month that you'll be able to hear us introduce ourselves twice.
Woo!
Because,
Aren't you lucky?
Aren't you lucky? Because we'll do a little bit of banter, and then we're going to kick into a Grawlix Podcast episode in which we're going to talk about some Doctor Who comic books and audio drama. That's right, comic books. Where's Maddie D? Putting out a mental beacon.
We're sending out an SOS to the world.
Right. But first, how are you two doing?
I'm okay. I was just thinking SOS doesn't work. It should be like a CRC or something. Come read comics, you know? Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah.
All right.
That's good.
A CRC to the world. Credence
Yep.
Revival Clearwater. Oh, that's CCR.
Yep.
I totally lost what I was going to say. That's okay.
Sorry about
It
that.
wasn't. Don't be sorry.
I'm sorry.
You demand. You know
I'm
what?
sorry. I'm sorry.
You take control of the show. What are we talking about before we get to the Doctor Who?
In the news, I don't know because I don't watch the news.
Yeah, actually, I haven't been following it too
We
much.
do not want to talk about the news.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yes, what, yesterday? Twitter Spaces?
That was pretty glorious. That development over in the Twitter Spaces.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Well-
podcast relevant. You know, it's kind of like a podcast.
Yeah.
So-
Like a chat box? Is that what it was?
Oh, yeah, kind of like them.
Yeah, that's how I
Castbox.
kind of likened it.
Castbox, that's what it was.
That's what it was. Oh, we were up to 8. They're all gone. Here's my thing with live streams, though. I don't get... Like, if you watch the normal live stream, they do not have the energy that we bring to a stream of Grawlix. But they will go for, like, 6 hours. I don't
Yeah.
understand people that... How does anyone settle on a live stream when they hop in for 4 seconds and then bounce out? It's like, you don't
Yeah.
even know. Like, any other live stream, they haven't even said a word yet, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you have to get a following first and then do the live stream because it seems like usually the people that do live streams with, like, you know, the chat side scrolling and stuff are already popular before that.
You know what? All you have to do is put the work in, put the time in, and you'll get that massive following. I don't know, maybe start a podcast and do it for like 9 years, 7 years, 8 years,
That's
and maybe
right.
you'll get the following to sustain a
Just be
podcast,
consistent, like
stream.
every single Thursday.
Just
Yeah.
every Thursday, you know, yeah. And
Except
you'll get
last
that
Thursday.
following.
Yeah, but it's been years. We can take a break now and then anymore. And plus, I don't know that we... Sorry, go ahead. That's kind of what I was going to get at. We might not record more in time, like length of time that we are sitting here talking to each other. Maybe it was longer before, I don't know. But we only used to release once a month, and now we do it 4 times a month. So, you know.
Oh, we have put out more podcast content since we've stopped regularly uploading podcast episodes to the audio feed than ever. Like, I was actually put that in a post the other day because YouTube Podcasts is a thing now. By the way, hey, YouTube Podcasts is a thing. You can listen to podcasts on YouTube. I don't know if it's unrolled everywhere, but you can designate playlists as podcasts, and I'm like, we've been doing that for years.
Right.
But I was going through the classic, 1 to 99 run of Grawlix podcast. The pure stuff.
the Dalek ideal.
Yeah. Yeah. The master podcast.
Yes.
But there were a few missing, especially towards the end when Randy got real lackadaisical with everything. So I started uploading a couple of those episodes.
I thought I saw that. Yeah, like the Sandman episode just went up today, right?
Yes, and that's what I was going to say. We mentioned Maddie D earlier. The Sandman episode, which was the last regular episode in which we talked about the poll list, and we promised the next episode the poll list was going to be Exo-Man of War. And that's relevant to Matty D because I know for a fact he requested that. That was at the end of 2019. Matty D, we'll get to it, I swear.
I read it. I just don't remember any of it. But at this point, I'm going to have to reread it.
I did not read it. I'll tell you the truth. I was waiting for the day before, and then I was going to cram it like I usually do.
If that, the day
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
Which, another reason I really stopped forcing comics. The poll list was a good idea, but it's not always sustainable. Episode 99, which was a Halloween episode, that's going up next week. It's already uploaded. It'll drop Thursday because I'm like, Throwback Thursday.
Right. Yeah.
You 3-year-old podcast episode.
Flashback Friday.
Oh man, I could just drop it tomorrow. But that's the one we talked about, the Christopher R. Mim movies.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's been interesting. So I've kind of been dipping back into the back catalog, and that's been interesting. But yeah, trying to get more consistent output on the audio feed and the YouTube channel. But you know what?
Ooh.
That's not interesting. We can't fill that. We can't fill that with talking about the content we're going to put on that, right? So before we dive into Doctor Who,
But we will.
But we have, and we are.
so hey Paul, what's going on? He said the way back catalog. Oh yeah.
I don't know. 2019 doesn't seem that long ago to me.
You're right, but man, think about everything that's happened.
I mean, the last couple of years have been like double and triple K.
Yeah.
That's
They've
a word.
both gone it's both been just, and this is I think just us getting older, and it just will continue to happen so fast. Yet at the same time, when you think back, you're like, that seems like so long ago.
Yeah, like that was this year. That feels like 3 years ago.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. How this hasn't become the Who cast is beyond me.
That's later.
Because
That's how it started.
it really did. Because Jesse also liked comics.
Well, not
Yeah.
just that. I don't think it's just that.
Too, but
Yeah, we liked comics, and there's other Doctor Who podcasts, And
We're
they
not going
probably
to be
do
as
it-
good as they are.
Kind of. I mean, a little bit. Yeah, they specialize in that stuff, and none of us have time to. Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe Jesse does, but I doubt it. To get all deep into the lore like some of them do, So
Jesse probably has the least time of us to get into the lore, but
right.
maybe more motivation than some people.
I
Are you talking
I
about
have
me?
I have a comprehension, like I hold on to that junk,
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, I'll take the time to dive into it, and then it's gone. And I'm just like, what about that one thing?
Right.
Yeah.
Just be like, well, that actually.
Yeah, I do. And you've seen far more Who than I have, because you've seen all the recreations. You know the second Doctor era far better than I do.
Right.
Or
Yeah,
should.
but you remember more than I do. I'm pretty sure.
I still have a hard time remembering which is the second and which is the third Doctor. I mix them up all the time.
Disgusting. Okay, before all that talk, because we usually do it. Hey, you guys been watching or consuming anything, or anything interesting happened to you since, I guess, 2 weeks ago? Paul says 10 and 4 is his wheelhouse, by the way. That's interesting. I mean, that makes sense. I feel like, in Modern Who, I don't know. I feel like overall those are probably the two most popular.
Sure.
Yeah.
I know
I like them the most, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I know the show got huge during 11's period too, but I think that was residual buildup from 10. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you.
Right.
Yeah. Is that a new... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Paul says he watched Dungeons and Dragons and Mario. He watched
And then-
Dungeons and Dragons and Mario.
My question was then, is that the new Dungeons and Dragons of Mario or the old Dungeons and Dragons of Mario? Because they both have old movies and new ones.
It should be the old ones because those are classics, right?
How old we talking? Are we talking like
Wow.
Dungeons and Dragons?
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yes.
I did not mean to do that. There.
There, that's what you were trying to do.
Yes.
It's my lunchbox.
Wow. Is that a cartoon?
Yeah, the animated
didn't-
series.
I did not even know.
These kids were all trapped inside of the realm of Dungeons and Dragons, and the dungeon master was like giving them opportunities to escape. And then this Venger guy up here, he's always like, who is actually voiced by the same guy that does Optimus Prime,
Oh.
was always the foil.
Cool.
And Frank Welker, who did the voice of Megatron, also did the voice of the annoying little unicorn that just made noises.
Oh.
My God.
You know that noise. Every cartoon in the 80s had somebody doing that noise.
That's true. You're right. You're right. That's horrifying, though.
In Scooby-Doo, did the little puppy, couldn't he just, like, talk? Like a normal
Scrappy-Doo
person?
could just talk.
Yeah.
Why couldn't
Puppy
Scooby?
power.
Right, and Scooby was like, "Arr, arr, arr." You know what I
Yep.
mean? That doesn't make no sense.
Because
Sorry.
Scrappy-Doo is terrible. Scrappy-Doo is another one that I think was universally reviled.
Yeah.
But the internet being the internet, people have come around, and now you've got
What?
starch defenders.
That's
of
ridiculous.
Scrappy-Doo. He
Even the live action
abominated.
movie made him the villain.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The first live action movie tied it right back around to Scrappy.
So Paul said they was the new ones, and he said new Mario is amazing, and new D&D is good, not great, but a fun outing with solid humor when it wasn't forced.
The leader of the group is a bard, so it's amazing.
I don't understand how new Mario is amazing when Chris Pratt is not even Italian, I don't think. It's just wrong.
Cultural appropriation.
Whitewashing, yeah. We're whitewashing white people.
I've got nothing to say after that. Well,
Yeah.
I haven't been watching too much that'll be interesting to anybody, and I'm not going to dive too much into it. Although Melanie and I did start watching Mob Psycho 100, which is an anime based on the manga by the guy who did One Punch Man, so it's amazing. And it is amazing.
It is really good. Yeah.
And unlike One Punch Man, the animation is consistent throughout the season so far that I've noticed. We're into season 3.
You guys are watching anime? That's so weird and not at all like you lately.
I actually broke. You're not, and I don't expect you to. But if you're monitoring my letterbox diary on the daily like you should be, you would notice.
Forget listening to the Grawlix podcast. Go check out his letterbox.
Just sit there.
It is kind of amazing. It's like years and years of every single thing gets put in there. That's nuts to me. I'm proud of you. It's amazing.
See, you made fun of me till now. Now you're recognizing the greatness of it. Since 2012, I've logged every movie I've ever watched. Well, you'll notice I broke from my string of Zatoichi rewatches, which is like the third time I've watched through that series. Zatoichi and other samurai stuff and some anime. I wildly broke away from that. I'm branching out. I watched a couple of westerns, which are basically the same thing.
Which are heavily
Yeah,
patterned after those movies, yeah.
Right.
You know, we don't have to get into it. I watched a couple westerns, specifically westerns with Clint Eastwood that I remember my parents watching when I was a kid. And Pale Rider which I think was 1985, and The Outlaw Josie Ray.
Yeah, that's my boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the
All
best. That's one of the best Clint Eastwood movies ever because he's actually kind of fun to watch. He's not just broody and awful the whole time.
You're right. I will agree with you with that. Like, the spaghetti westerns are great, but he is very he's stoic. Pale Rider, he's like stoic to an extreme degree. He just stands there, doesn't say anything, and just every woman just throws themselves at him, and he's just like, it's kind of funny. But Outlaw Josie Wales, you're right. It's humorous.
Yeah, he's got moments.
He's got personality. Paul says he always wanted a Clint Eastwood Batman. That would be interesting.
It would, but I think it should be in Elseworlds where it's like Batman happened in the Wild West. That's the only way that it would work for me.
Ooh. An Unforgiven Batman.
They did I mean, this isn't quite the right time period. Well, maybe. It's close, actually. But they did I mean, it was animated, of course. But there's, Batman by Gotham by Gaslight or whatever. That's closer to the time period. But yeah, anyway. They're okay.
I always forget that, during the Western times, it was like they were building the Brooklyn Bridge and skyscrapers and stuff. That stuff happened at the same time. It's nuts.
Yeah, honestly, that's kind of throw a revenge story in there, and I'm game. But also, that is, as I've gotten older, part of the appeal, because my parents would watch those movies when I was a kid, and I'd be like, "This is boring. It's a Western. I don't want to watch this." But now that I've gotten older, I'm like, I want to learn about the West. I want to know what it was like, and not that those movies are always accurate, but it is interesting to see, even just, telegraphs. It's like, yeah, they're stringing phone lines across there when people are still just trying to survive in the wilderness. It's
right.
That kind of thing is wild to me.
Yeah, well, that's part of just technology happening so super fast as
Right.
it has. Most of human history, we didn't have any of the things that we have today. You know what I mean?
The series Deadwood, the HBO series Deadwood, was great about that, about kind of highlighting various technological advances and, focusing on it because they'd have the characters. This is very much a character series. Kind of be amazed by it. That's not a segue.
Mm-hmm. I don't. I'm sorry, I was reading Paul's comment, but he said you get as west as St. Louis, and there was a solid tech and improvement disconnect in the country that's still prevalent. So I didn't know that, but that's interesting.
I'll tell you what. I want my
What?
fiber optic. Somebody,
Yeah.
Fastwire, Cox, somebody, get your act together.
Fastwire's barely even here anymore. They need to just leave and give us some Cox that actually has, some strength to it.
Cox Communication.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that.
You get in there and lay that cable. Anyway.
I watched Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
Speaking of Chris Pratt,
Oh, me too.
Once Upon a Time. Oh, you did? Yeah.
Randy didn't though.
I have not, but you two have.
Yes.
You want to talk about it in a maybe spoiler-free way? What do you guys think of it?
I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it too. I thought it was a great way to end the series.
There was one or two things that I didn't like, but they were easy to overlook if you just, believe or something like that. But, if science were actually applied, some people would probably be dead is all I'm saying. But they don't. This is Magic Land, so whatever.
There were some interesting character choices, and it's like, why is this character even necessary, kind of thing, and then why make them like this kind of thing. But also, that's how we're introduced to them, so that's fine.
And the only other thing that this is not a bad thing though. This is a good thing. I think it's interesting that the movie focuses on a character that really isn't present for most of the movie, and I kind of like that.
Yeah, it was good.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go buy my ticket
Sorry.
tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed the soundtrack too, because the soundtrack is such a big part of it. And I was super pumped when a little bit of Faith No More kicks in. And it wasn't even the Mike Patton. It was the original Faith No More. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me?
My nephew said to me, "Have you ever heard of this song Creep by Radiohead?" And I was like, I lived
Right.
through the 90s, dude.
Right, yeah.
It permeated my life. It was everywhere, frick. Sorry. I censored myself. There you go.
Cool. So how do you? I mean, that's probably definitely the last James Gunn movie to hit the MCU, huh?
Oh, yeah. And Holly and I were talking about that. Like, Holly's thing was like, what did DC have to promise James Gunn to steal him away from Disney? And I was like, after Disney basically canceled him, I think Disney had to give him anything he wanted just to finish that third one.
Right.
No, I think you're spot on because it was while he was canceled that DC swooped in and was like, "Hey, make us a Suicide Squad movie."
Right.
And then Marvel was like, "Hey, wait a second."
Mm-hmm.
Either way, especially, it's interesting because the Suicide Squad didn't even perform that particularly well, but Warner Brothers clearly went all in on him.
Right. They got the most positive buzz for a movie that they'd gotten in quite a while because, like, what else had gotten any positive buzz other than maybe the first Shazam got a little bit of positive, like, hey, see this one, we can do okay movies sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And I could be wrong, but it seems like he's a fan, and so maybe he had ideas that they realized that, yeah, this is a good direction to go, Like, I would imagine maybe it was something like that, too.
Oh, I think he was definitely a fan because he made Super. So he was making messed up superhero movies without actual licenses.
Right.
Although at that time, I don't think I wouldn't be able to see him. At that time, none of the studios that own the licenses to the big superhero franchises would have let him make something like Super with them. But now,
Right.
I mean, they kind of already did. The Suicide Squad has like some of the super violent stuff in there is straight out of Super. But anyway.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Super got pretty extreme. Like,
it did.
Yeah. Like the little guy that got big. That one was like horrific.
I don't recall that.
Well, you shouldn't. So let's move on.
Okay. Yeah, I don't recall that at all. Well, hey.
Yeah.
Jesse, anything else you consumed? Or
I started watching Mayhem. I'm only about an episode and a half in, which is good. It's the new Muppet show on Disney Plus with
Right, okay,
the band, the Electric Mayhem, or Dr.
Right.
Teeth and the Electric Mayhem. And it's fun. It's kind of what you'd expect from a Muppet property, but it doesn't feel as forced as some of the most recent outings have. Like some of the newer Muppet movies, like the Jason Segel one, and then the one that followed up with Ricky Gervais. Yeah.
what? Ricky Gervais, what a pick for a Muppet anything.
Right.
Right?
I mean, I know they go for they're not going for necessarily kid-friendly comics to be in these things because they also, they want that adult appeal. But Ricky Gervais, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like Ricky Gervais though. He does generally.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff.
Mm-hmm. I don't really follow the Muppets much, but I'll pass this on to Savannah because she'll love it all.
That does remind me. I've started my streaming network, my streaming service purge. I kicked Disney Plus to the curb for a while. I don't until Loki comes back.
Sure.
Right. Gotta watch
Kicked
Loki.
them to the curb. I tried to kick HBO Max, now Max, to the curb, but they enticed me with half off for like 3 months. So I was like, all right,
yeah.
I'll finish Barry on your discount, and then I'll kick you to the curb.
Right.
Which I have been. I think there's one more episode left for that series, and it's been great. Picked up Funimation, of course. So Netflix and Funimation, I think, are the only ones I plan on holding on to for a while.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. But we had canceled Shudder also because there were some things that we watched, but they were few and far between, and it was the same price, I think, as Funimation.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
I mean, not that Shudder's some small indie thing. It's owned by AMC, which is owned by whoever, big company.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I wanted to support Shudder because it's a horror niche streaming service, and I'm all about that. That's cool. I want that to continue. But it's one of those things where every so often I have to be like, I haven't watched anything on here for like 3 months. I need to start paying for this. And yeah, I was eyeballing Funimation, so.
That's just because the shows we were watching quit. They didn't have any more episodes on Netflix.
HBO Max made the switch to Max. That's interesting, I guess.
They have things that I didn't realize that they had that makes me sad that they have them. I can't remember what. Oh, Rick and Morty was what it was. And I'm like, oh no, I hope they don't mess that up. I mean, it's already kind of up in the air the way it is,
Yeah.
I don't want any more troubles to befall it.
Oh, that's right. I actually started watching the latest season that they loaded on there, because they finally added the new season of Rick and Morty on there,
Right.
and it's interesting. I mean, I don't know where it's going, but yeah.
That is something we should watch before I kick Max out the bed.
Yeah.
Because we had fallen off. I think it might have been. We were watching whatever season it was that wasn't on HBO Max yet, but had fallen off at some point. So I have to pick that up again. Okay. Well, hey, how about this?
Yep.
Let's get to Doctor Who talk, because that's what this is really about. Oh wait.
Before we
Okay.
do that, though, I want to tell everybody about our brand new cereal, Grawlix cereal, and it's so good. It's delicious, and it tastes like maple waffle, and it's not that bad for you because it has some nutrient things in it, and it's totally not a box of Magic Spoon with our logo on it.
Right.
Yeah, we're branching out.
Yeah.
Brand deal. We
Yeah.
got
Right.
that going on. I would endorse some maple waffle cereal for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, like, sugar's a vitamin, right? A nutrient?
Sometimes
No,
it's
it's
yeah,
sugar.
it does things to you. It has calories in it.
By the Grawlix podcast official cereal box, 0
Right.
grams of total sugars.
Right, and hang on. No, over here. 4 net carbs and 12 protein grams. That's just a feature. It's a peeled back thing. Don't worry about it.
That is pretty low.
Yeah.
Is that how big is a serving though? Because
I don't
if
know.
it's like a half a cup, that don't mean nothing
You,
to
you
me.
get a whole cup. We'll give you a whole cup
Ooh.
for a serving. So you should totally eat our magic spoo cereal. Just one O, Spo. It's Magic Spo, not Spoo.
Yeah, because Spoo's a little.
That's a
Risque.
little iffy. That's iffy. That's why it's Grawlix. Boom. We slapped a Grawlix on it and we're good.
Why did you do this?
Because Magic Spoon should give us money. Because Magic Spoon should give us money.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
And yes, when you order a crate, and we only sell them in crates. When you order a crate, each box will in fact They are not. It's not Magic Spoon cereal with a sticker slap.
No!
That's just part of our aesthetic. Okay.
Who would do that?
Yeah, they're empty boxes of Magic Spoon with our sticker slapped on it that we filled with some of our own stuff.
Sand. I mean,
cereal.
yes.
Recycling. We are just recycling the boxes. I feel like Magic Spoon, they're like a progressive company. They would want this.
Yeah.
Yep.
They would.
Not buying Magic Spoon with our handmade stickers slapped on.
No. Come on. That's ridiculous.
That we ate about half the box of.
What grown adult would do that?
Well.
Yeah, on that note, now we can talk about Doctor Who.
Okay, before. Well,
because that visual gag was not going to land on an audio podcast.
This seems like good call. At risk of alienating the few people we picked up. Hey, everybody watching. Hi.
Hey, Magic Spoon, don't sue me.
Before, you know what though? Speaking of sponsorship deals, before we jump into Doctor Who, I want to tell you about StreamYard. That's what we're using right now. But you know what? I'm not going to tell you because I'm not good at it, and they would probably be unhappy with it. So here, it's 20 seconds long. Enjoy. Now, other than the sudden jump in volume and exciting music that probably startled you all. Yeah,
that's what I should have done for my cereal.
Check out StreamYard. We've been using it for a long time doing this.
Yeah, we have.
So,
like even before when we still didn't pay for it, but we had less options. It was the one we chose because it was better than anything else for what we're doing.
Yeah.
But we don't need to spend too much time on it because we've shed 2 viewers since we did that.
Oh, fun.
And listen, we didn't have too many to spare. But now we're going to get into the Grawlix podcast proper. We're going to talk about some comics. We're going to end some audio drama. I'm going to play you an intro video. So, I'm sorry for the video quality. StreamYard's great. Welcome to the Grawlix Podcast, episode number 99.005.
Woo!
I'm Randy.
It's a mouthful.
I'm Melanie.
And I'm Jesse.
That is how... excuse me. That is... I'm not used to doing the old style of intro. That is how I would do the intro. I would attack you with the episode number at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Hey viewers, if you're confused about what's happening, we're going to record a little podcast in the middle of our live stream podcast.
Hashtag in the future, you'll get cereal with only 4 net carbs and 12 grams of protein, and it'll be magically Grawlixed.
Mm-hmm.
Would that happen to look like a Magic Spoon box with a Grawlix over the top?
No, okay. Come on. Branding.
I think this is farther in the future, and it will be magically Grawlixed through our in the future machines that it work like what do you call them from Star Trek? You know, where you're like, give me a hot cocoa, and it's like hot cocoa.
Yeah,
one of those. Yep.
Fire up the Blinkatron. Make it so.
I
don't have it in the future, but in the future, I'll have to make intro video graphics much less active and busy, so that the live stream bandwidth bitrate can handle it. Tonight, we're continuing our adventures with the 10th Doctor and Donna on our Doctor Who, I would say revisit, but tonight we're talking about stuff that's all new to me. Some of it
Me
I know
as
is
well.
new to Jesse, not necessarily all of it.
Right.
And all of it's new to you too, Melanie?
The comics
That would
were
be
new
correct.
Comics?
to me. The comics were new to me. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait, we're talking about comics on the Grawlix?
Whoa! It's like we are numbering these.
Yeah, so we read 2 comics that feature the 10th Doctor and Donna Noble. There aren't a whole lot to choose from, at least not that I had on hand. And we listened to 2 audio dramas. So the question is, what do we want to dive into first?
I say the comics. Let's do comics and then audio dramas.
I think
Okay.
that's fair. Yeah.
Okay, well then we'll do this in the order that I'm assuming we read them, because it was the order that they were in the book.
I was curious about did these, at least one of these must have come from the Doctor Who magazine, right?
Both of these were released by IDW
Oh,
as one-shot stories, I guess, one-shot issues.
Oh.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. So yeah, both of these were one-shot comics originally published in 2009 by IDW, and we read them though as part of the Titan Comics release of the 10th Doctor Archives Omnibus Volume 2. And it listed, like, at the beginning of the omnibus, it listed that, I guess chapters or whatever individual, the creators and whatever. One thing I was a little disappointed by, though, with this collection, this omnibus, is, like, no cover art.
right. And no no title splays either. Like that's
Right.
looking through the CBZ, it was like really hard to figure out where the page numbers were in the app that I use, and then like there was nothing that really denoted the name of the story or anything.
Yeah. There
Yeah.
was, like, no title pages or anything. It was clear because of the way the stories are structured when one would end, but, like, it wasn't clear if you're just flipping through. It just cut out the credits page, the title, or the covers. There was no title page, nothing. Like, cut all that out, and it was just, it seemed a little weird to me.
Yeah, I do recall trying to find it after, because it was weird to download also for me, but that my phone's, not the best. And I didn't have Comic Rec on there, which is what I used to use, but I had to download something different because they didn't have that available. And I couldn't, it was very hard to get to the page number, and it didn't say in the comics what the page numbers were. Well, I bet it wouldn't match anyway, I suppose, huh? But it was a pain in the butt.
There's also very little information online about what's in these omnibuses, which kind of made it a little tricky too. Because if you look up the story specifically, which was Autopia and Cold-Blooded War, like, IDW published in this, collected in whatever trade IDW had released, but there's, like,
Sure.
not a lot of information about how Titan had released them, Doesn't matter. So let's first talk about, then, would it be Autopia? That's how I said
yeah.
it.
That's how I read it.
Head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the publisher's summary of this story is an all-American creative team. It's the publishers, so they're selling it, tackles the celebrated Doctor, really, in this special standalone tale. An adventure where the 10th Doctor and his companion arrive, not even a mention of who his companion is, and his companion arrive on a utopian planet where robots do all the manual labor. But things aren't quite as they seem.
It's interesting it's an all-American team because my initial thought was that the art is pretty good and the characters they didn't quite nail it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So this was written by John Ostrander, who's done, he's done a lot of, I think especially through, like, kind of the 80s and the 90s, he's done a lot of work on a lot of series. I know I've read some Batman or Detective Comics written by him. Art by Kelly Yates, who's also done a lot of work. Colors by Chris Carter. I did find Kelly Yates is not only still, active, he just recently, either this month or last month, completed a successful Kickstarter project to fund a special collection trade paperback of his creator-owned series, Amber Atoms, as in ATOM, Atoms, which was originally published by Image Comics.
Okay.
Sorry. We're talking comics. We actually used to provide a bunch of information about the comics.
Yeah, we did. We did
This is
used
the thing
to.
we used to
Yeah.
do. I know,
And I'm all,
you're thrown by it. You're like, oh, okay.
no, yeah, I'm all for creator-owned, promotion because they need it. And I like, you just said it. I starts with an I.
Image Comics.
Yes.
They're good for the independent scene.
Or
That's
as
right.
I had typed it, Images Comics, which I don't think is the same. It's Image Comics. But Jesse, you had dived into it already, and I think you're right. I don't know. The characterization was fine, but not super strong in this.
Better for the Doctor than for Donna. Like,
Yes.
Donna is so very specific, and reading through this one, I was like, oh no, this is why they didn't do a bunch of these, because without Catherine Tate doing it, you don't know how to do Donna, do you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear what you think of the next one then, because I would agree with you on this specifically.
Oh, that's why I'm very specifically calling this one out.
Okay.
Okay.
What were you gonna say, Melanie?
Nothing. It doesn't matter. Let's go on.
It does matter. This is a podcast where we're having a conversation.
Okay. Well, I was just going to say, Donna is strange to me anyway. I don't understand her motivation most of the time.
Okay. No, that's fair. That's good contribution. Yeah. She is strange.
Yeah.
I mean,
the most Donna thing about this is the very, very end. Where it was like, okay, yeah, that's what Donna would do.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right. Overall, so yeah, they show up on I don't know where the Doctor was planning to go. I don't think it's relevant, but they show up on this planet that apparently they had somehow slipped past. Like they have a blockade around the planet, and he's like, oh.
That is where they were intending to go, though, because they had a whole big spiel about wanting to go there, but nobody was allowed to, and the last people who went there, like, never heard from again.
Yeah, like 100 years ago or 200 years ago, some people went there, and yeah. I mean, the concept is interesting enough. It's a society that's so reliant on robots that they just sit around and don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And robots do stuff, but they have like no motivation. I did like. It's such a short, kind of breezy story, though. But I did like when they interacted with they really interact with one normal human character there, this woman they come across, where she just like, she didn't sound depressed, but kind of, right? Like just, there's not really any point to live.
Just
she
apathetic.
Husband,
yeah.
He just left. Yeah, apathetic. That's it. Just extreme apathy. Didn't really seem to care.
Mm-hmm.
And was like, yeah, kill these outsiders or whatever, robot. And, of course, it happened to be the same robot that killed the last people that come through. And that robot's having feelings about it. And that sparks basically their, like, robot revolution in a way with the help of the Doctor. I will say, though, that Donna and the Doctor were getting cooked. They got cooked in a little bit.
Yeah. It was like when Bugs Bunny is taking a bath in the whatever water that's heating up, and then he's like, maybe this is a little too hot.
Hassan Pfeffer.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of thinking, though, like, the Doctor didn't, I mean, the Doctor's not going to put up a fight, but the Doctor straight up just, like, let the robot march them to this, like, area where they're going to get burnt in this sun thing. And they walked in of their own free will. I mean, kind of. They were told to walk in there. But he didn't put up any fight till they're in there, and then he started to try to reason with the robot.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd think he'd do something like with the Sonic or something, but like cause the glass to break or something. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Try something first.
Like, if we want to read too deep into the characters' like experience in this story, I guess this would be pretty horrifying for Donna. She was about to die. She was being cooked alive.
Yeah.
And the Doctor just kind of like let it happen to them.
He's like, I'll try diplomacy
Right.
with a robot.
Overall, it ends on such a goofy, like, jokey tone too.
It reminds me of some Isaac Asimov stuff that I've read with robots. Like, from, I don't know if it was its own book or if it was part of, like, the iRobot thing. That was not the movie. It was different. But, yeah, where, like, people just go along with whatever and they don't really seem to notice or question robots for some reason. Like, I don't know. But I think that the doctor probably, I would like to assume at least, maybe, because I like the doctor to be smart, knew that he could reason with him because of other things that he had said earlier, and so he was just going along with it all for that purpose.
Right, and giving the robot the opportunity to do the right thing, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and he had, like he had said he didn't like the last time when he had to dispatch the people. And so he was like, well, this will heighten his whatever emotions he has, and make it easier to manipulate him into the way I want him to be. I like to think, at least.
I do like the twist that, because it's kind of a subversion of an obvious evil robots are controlling the society thing, where it's clear, I mean, it's not like that's a big twist, but it's clear early on that, oh no, that's not the case. The robots are either just totally ambivalent, or it turns out kind of the good guys until they're not.
There was a strange wrinkle to this whole thing where it's like, okay, so all the robots are linked. So anything that the doctor does to this robot will happen to them all. But this robot has kind of gained a little bit of sentience anyways. So if they're all linked, then haven't they all kind of gained a little bit of sentience anyway? Like that bit was like confusing and questionable.
Yeah.
Like, are they individuals or are they not? I don't get it.
Yeah, that was kind of I think that was a plot hole of convenience, because because they did play it as like specifically this one individually was somewhat special because of his experience, but then when it came time to unlock them, it was they're hive mind, so he doesn't have to so he can just do it to him and then it's done. It was a little kind of convenience.
Right.
Overall, I found it kind of fluffy though.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was fast. Like, the resolution came fast. This wouldn't have been a whole half-hour episode. It wouldn't have been an hour for sure.
If there had been some, like, John Gutenberg or something in there, maybe it would have been good, but...
Yeah. A little Gutenberg, a little bit of Johnny Five is Alive.
Yeah.
No disassemble.
Right.
Right.
Then maybe it would have been okay.
Hey, Laser Lips, your mama was a snowblower.
I would have been. I had the covers. I even saved the covers somewhere, but I'm not going to bother with pulling them up. I think this was like maybe a $4 issue. I would have been a little upset about a $4 issue on this story, because it seems super short. There was probably a lot of ad pages in that issue.
Yeah.
Well, it was from page like 77 to, I guess it's like 22, 23 pages, I guess.
Was it really? It didn't seem that long.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, so that's like a normal size too, not a double sized, but yeah.
Right.
Like 48 is more your giant size.
It's not bad, but it was so kind of like falls into, and I feel that way about some of the other stuff we'll discuss, I guess. Kind of like, it was an adventure, sure. It wasn't like remarkable. And not all the expanded stuff is, but that's like the thing you worry about with expanded media, where it's like, well, they're just using the property, right? And not to say that that's what they're doing here, but it wasn't remarkable, really.
Right.
Well, do we want to move on to the next issue?
Yes.
Sure. Yes.
Okay. This is also in the Volume 2 Archives Omnibus. The titles on these things. technically, I think it was Doctor Who, the 10th Doctor, Adventures Archives Omnibus Volume 2. It's like, whoa, guys, come on now.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But this is Doctor Who. Were you gonna say
Nope.
something?
Go ahead.
This is Doctor Who Cold-Blooded War, another one-shot comic originally published August 26th, 2009 by IDW. The publisher's summary is, in fact, scratch that. I'll do the credits first. Written by Richard Starkings. Story by Gary Russell, who I believe was a TV editor of the TV, like a story editor.
That
for the
sounds
TV
vaguely
show.
familiar, but I don't know if that's just because of Russell T. Davies. It sounds familiar.
Right. But I think is it story editor sounds right for the TV series. But written by Richard Starkings, art by Adrian Salmon, colors by Chris Carter with color assist by Sari Carter. Something interesting about the writer, he's also the letterer. He founded Comic Craft in 1992.
What?
Yeah. So he's done.
So the reason for my reaction is that is the place to go for like professional fonts if you want to make a comic.
Yeah, to this, like he started the company in '92 to focus purely on lettering comics, and then I didn't note the time. You can look it up on Wikipedia. I didn't note the year, but yeah, at some point he launched the website, which, like you said, is like the go-to. But he his initial batch of work on Doctor Who stuff was back in the day. He did various writing, editing, and lettering for Doctor Who magazine during the 6th and early 7th Doctor eras, I believe. And he's done a bunch of work for other comics, like he did some Marvel work and stuff, and some of the UK stuff, of course. In the 90s, he focused purely on lettering. Beginning in 2014, he and Jimmy Betancourt, who also is also part of Comic Craft, has lettered all of Titan Comics' Doctor Who comic book series, starting in 2014. But I thought that was interesting. It's not really...
Yeah, we got some Doctor Who alum and some comics alum,
Right.
Yeah.
Publisher summary. In this standalone tale, the Doctor and Donna attempt... At least Donna gets a shout-out in the summary.
Right.
Yeah. The other one is it doesn't really matter who was the...
It would be a real shame if in this particular story she didn't even get a shout out.
Right.
Right. No, yeah. In the last story, it could have been anybody.
Really could.
It really could have been any companion. It wasn't relevant. But this story, more so, though, it's more relevant. The Doctor and Donna attempt to broker a peace plan between two very hierarchical and pompous alien races, the Draconians and the Ice Warriors. Was it really between them, though?
No, it was two different factions of the Draconians, and the Ice Warriors were there to be arbiters.
Yeah, yeah. But their best efforts are derailed by someone who stands to gain from the continued conflict. Okay, here we go. Written by TV show story editor Gary Russell. Yeah, okay. With art by Adrian Salmon. I do want to comment real quick on the art on both these stories are kind of similar in the style, and I think that's kind of typical of the IDW Doctor Who style at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not wild. The last one especially, I'm not super wild about it. I mean, it's not bad. It's just, it's a more simplistic kind of style, and it's okay.
Yeah.
But
this one struck me as the Doctor Who magazine comics. That's the style. That artist might have even been involved in those, because I swear that I read an 11th Doctor adventure with Amy Pond that looked about exactly like this. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this one was more interesting, and I was glad. It starts with a House of the Dragon size exposition dump.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, one of those reporters at the beginning giving exposition was an adipose.
Yep. They can talk, huh?
Right. It's an interesting choice.
And he looked like Sola. I'm just assuming it's him. He just looks kind of bored while he's talking about it. It's he didn't have the excited mouth, the happy mouth that we usually see him. He's just
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think of this one overall?
Honestly, they were both of the stories were forgettable to me. And this one, even when Randy started talking about it, I was like, wait, I don't even remember how this thing ended. Which
I give her the plot. I give her the whole plot, and she's like, "Huh? I don't, I don't remember." And I was like, so then I start giving her like specific details, and then finally, I mean, I guess we'll get into. Nobody cares. Spoilers,
I was gonna say
okay?
I kind of saw the end coming, but it didn't make it any
Yeah.
less poignant or anything. Like the point was still there, and it still made sense. And it was like, oh yeah, this is kind of how this would have to wrap up in a quick one-shot comic format.
yeah,
I had to give
yeah.
Melanie that ending, and she's like, "Oh yeah, okay." It's like,
That was the only thing she remembered. It was like, oh yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, that's right. That's pretty much it. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, some chicks fighting. That's like everything,
Right.
because we do. But yeah, the ending is the gut punch that gives you the memory of the thing.
This was almost a little better version of the Doctor's daughter, minus the cloning. It was just like, okay, let's separate the companion from the Doctor. Let the Doctor go do his little thing. Let the companion do their little thing. And then bring them back together in the end. Bada bing, bada boom. And we're done. And there's a new Doctor clone. No, there isn't in this one.
right. Yeah, I took a couple notes, and after the exposition dump thing, the first note was that, very early on, good Donna characterization, or at least better
Yes.
Donna characterization, because there's a line where whatever Tennant they did fine. Tennant, you
Yeah.
get his phrases in there, and he's I think easy enough to write for. He's very specific, I guess.
Right.
But he said something. Oh, that's brilliant, and her line was, "Everything's brilliant with you, isn't it?" And just like,
Yeah.
I was like, I could hear her saying it. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
yep,
yeah.
no, they get it. They get Donna.
I'm surprised it wasn't a woman that wrote it because that's how they are.
There was another line too where she was like, she's like, then you might as well kill all the children. No offense. It was just like
Right.
yeah, that was pretty good. That was pretty Donna-esque.
Donna, essentially, other than with the like outlier, the one guy who wasn't gonna be able to be talked down from his like position, she resolved the conflict,
Yeah,
and that's
which he kind of should have in this one, based on what was happening.
Wait, you don't think the man should have come in and
No, it shouldn't have been
resolved this
mansplained.
issue?
Maybe it shouldn't have been mansplained.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no, okay, so this is a thing where it's, I mean, woman empowerment, but it's not really even that. It's like tearing down the patriarchy.
Yeah.
But it makes sense and it works. I was a little surprised by the burqa thing. I guess
Oh,
it
yeah.
makes sense, but just calling it out specifically like that, I was like, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, initially I thought, oh, this is just kind of like, yes, this is a patriarchy thing, but it also felt like it could have been a stand-in for any kind of progressive change. And
Yeah.
until you kind of threw in some of those very overt things where it's like, okay, yeah. I like the deal where they were like, didn't draconian actually mean da-da-da-da-da-da-da?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wow. We're just going to hit that right on the nose, huh?
Yeah.
On the nose, but not necessarily ham-fisted. Well, I mean, that's a little ham-fisted, but I mean, that's a good way to kind of describe, at least for me, how they approached the topic. Is like, it's up very on the nose, but it didn't feel particularly ham-fisted. It's like, okay, that's fine. It's a fine allegory for
Right.
the same thing with other cultures, I guess.
This one was much more wordy. I was a little worried about that at first, but as I got into it, it was like, oh no, this is good. This is all right.
I mean, if you look at, yeah, that's also another thing and why I don't necessarily like. It was very forgettable to Melanie, because if you look at the plot, not much happens. Like, you've got, other
Yeah.
than the setup of the exposition, Doctor and Donna show up. Of course, they're not where they expected to be. Doctor gets kidnapped. They run back, and everything else, and then it resolves. But everything else is just like kind of talking So
It kind of, honestly, it's sad, but it reminds me a little bit of the suffragette movement, excuse me. And like it was happening, but it wasn't until like someone died it was at a racetrack or something that people were like, oh, and started paying attention, and then it gained power. You know what I mean? And it's poopy that stuff has to happen for people to pay attention. But I guess if it in the end makes things better for everyone, then that's I guess what it takes. I don't know. That's what they seemed. That was their whole take on it. It seemed like, well, it sucks she died, but that sometimes has to happen for these things to progress. That seemed like the moral of the story, which seemed a little messed up, but
that did seem flip-flopped. Like Donna was consoling the doctor on that point, and it was like,
Yes.
that part feels a little backwards, because that is not usually how Donna reacts to this kind of thing. Like, if she saw a little, I mean, spoilers, if she saw a little girl get shot protecting someone else, I don't think she would have been so consoling of the doctor, first of all, and calm about it, second.
Right. And not just shot by her dad. Which is the big impact.
Yeah, and die. Like they didn't pull punches.
Yeah.
Like next frame, she's dead. Like they didn't waste any time with it. No, you guys you totally nailed it, and I think that's maybe where the characterization falls apart for her.
Right.
Because following my through line of like how much is Donna being traumatized on their adventures, it seems flipped. The doctor's super upset about it, and she's like, "Well, one life for the many. It's for the good of the whole." It's
Right. Oh,
what?
yeah, you gave the wrong person the wrong line there.
Yeah,
This is the same Donna who's like, "Save somebody." Just save him, somebody.
Shut off my telepathic link because I can't handle the pain.
Right.
But she was like, hey, this is women's lib. It's a little different, okay? Because otherwise, she wouldn't be able to be Donna.
That's a fair point. Yeah, that was a little weak there. But that's like the last page.
Right. Also, there was like a surprising amount of cameos as far as like Doctor Who creatures, where it's just like, okay, so the Ice Warriors are there, but they're just that could have been anybody. That could have been the Jadoon. I'm glad it wasn't the Jadoon. For whatever reason, this actually worked better.
I think they even name checked the Jadoon too.
They did. Yeah, they even mentioned that. They were like, if we're not careful, then the Jadoon will have to come. Right. They name checked the Jadoon, and then they literally, for no reason I can discern, had an Alpha Centauri just run out of the room. Like, we wanted to draw an old school classic creature. That's it.
Well, I think the point of that is like they were also supposed to like help with the negotiations, and they said something about the testosterone or something flying around, and like a conversation, or it was clearly breaking down, and whatever. But I enjoyed this one better than the other one for sure.
Yeah.
Testosterone does break stuff down. Because that's what stupid boys do. They break stuff down. And that's why their insurance is higher. Yep.
It's true.
Okay. I'm almost tempted to break this episode down into two parts when I do.
Into two parts, yeah.
We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll have to record.
This is some classic Grawlix right here, because we're going to talk about Big Finish audio.
Oh, it's been a long time since we talked about Big Finish.
Oh, snap.
At first I was a little concerned, Jesse, when you sent over. When you recommend we listen to the second story, because just because I was like, okay, because we delayed it from last week because Melanie and I had only listened to the one audio drama, and we hadn't read any of the comics yet, and I was like, I don't know if we have enough to talk about for a segment.
Plus I had stuff going on in my life that made it harder.
Right, no, it was beneficial for all of us to I was tired, whatever. Same old excuses from me. Listen, it's not hard to find an excuse to not do something for me, all right? I wasn't upset at all.
Look, you don't want tired podcasters. Like podcasters
No.
are, like we got to have some energy here.
I mean, listen, you don't have to go too far back into the catalog to find a tired podcaster episode. It's not really up to snuff. But then, like, you recommended the second one, and then we had the comics, and I was like, oh,
Right.
is that going to be too much stuff to talk about? And that remains to be seen. But I'm glad you did, because I enjoyed one of these audio drama quite a bit.
I knew you'd like the second one more than the first.
Right. The first one,
Because that's the one I initially thought of when we started talking about all this. It was actually the second one, and I was just like, "Oh, I should go back and get something from the first." Because so just to like kind of set it up, the two that we're listening to was it Technophobia is the first one, and that one is literally the first 10th Doctor thing that we had since the 10th Doctor retired. So like this is the first thing that we're hearing, and you can tell, like Matt Fitton leans into it with the way that first thing is set up, because I'll tell you, when I first listened to it and you hear that, like, Donna, let's go, that whole thing, chills, goosebumps when I first heard it, because it had been like almost a decade since we had any 10th Doctor.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not a decade, because we had that 50th anniversary special.
But it had been a while.
Yeah, it'd been a long time since we had the Doctor Donna dynamic. So
Well, and I could be wrong, but was it the first modern Who Doctor we had gotten from Big Finish?
yes.
Yeah. It was a big deal. Yeah,
We had properties, but this was the first full proper Doctor that we had gotten with the new license agreement.
Right. Yeah, this is the 10th Doctor Adventures 1.1.
Yes.
The very first one. Okay, yeah.
And it was
Written by Matt
boring, and I forgot it. No, I'm sorry. It wasn't that bad. It was okay. Yeah.
This is another one that I would describe like Autopia, where it's just kind of fluffy, I think.
Right.
Just there's not a lot there that sticks with you. Not to say like there wasn't fun there.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. The main things I remember is that everybody was stupid, and some guy that drove a train or a subway, maybe one of the two, was the hero. That's all I remember.
Right.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I mean, you kind of got it. That's the main
And the whole
plot.
flirtation with Donna kind of thing. That was fun.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. So I don't have like a synopsis of this, but it's basically like it starts like a technology gone wrong episode, right? Which was interesting because Melanie and I watched this like OPPD, our power company, like for half a day had gone down in like a huge chunk of the area. I don't know why. So we were without power, but I had my phone. So I was like, we're sitting here with nothing to do. There's no power. Let's listen to some Doctor Who. So it was interesting, I guess, listening to the technology gone wrong seeming episode in that context. But slight spoilers. It's not really technology gone wrong. It's people gone stupid.
Yeah. Because of technology, though. So, although it was being used the way it was intended, I guess, so it wasn't really wrong. It was just doing wrong things.
So the big, again, spoilers, the big reveal is like the Centauri. No, not the Centauri. You got that. The Cognoscenti, this alien race, come and they have some auditory or some type of like, not really auditory, but some type of signal, audio signal or some type of signal that basically, it makes people dumb. It reverts them towards caveman levels of intelligence, and that in this story most commonly manifests in them just being freaked out by technology. But the setup is like, I mean, it's kind of, on paper, it's kind of interesting. The setup is like, there's a smart assistant. It's definitely playing on like the smart assistant technology thing. So you think, whoa, what's going on with this smart assistant? Is it taking over or something? It's like, no, it doesn't really have anything to do with that.
Right.
What was the time period for this, though?
It was supposed to be a couple of years in the future for Donna.
Okay.
Because that's all that they really gave us, was that she knew it was kind of in the future.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So
So
it
is
could have
that
been
like-
present day for us, or a little more advanced
You're right.
than
You're
present day, because it's kind of like Siri, but maybe a little more like automated home kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
Well, I mean, now it'd be ChatGPT, huh?
Yeah.
But I think the most odd thing for me about this is, despite like the scale of the threat and kind of the scale they tried to portray the threat, the world felt so empty. And I get that, like,
Yeah.
the streets were empty, but like it felt small. The scale of the actual
Mm-hmm.
story felt small. I
Yeah.
don't know why.
Maybe because there's still parts of the world that don't have technology, so it affects them not at all. That might be part of it. I don't know, though.
I mean, they'd still be.
I mean, well, I mean, it
dumb.
might affect them, but it wouldn't affect them the way that it would. I'm assuming the people that were closer to wherever it was that they were, because weren't they using technology to like send out their signal or their hum or whatever the hell? Excuse me, whatever the heck it was.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, their initial wave of it was like a psychic thing where it was like,
Yeah.
and that's why it wasn't impacting certain people, because was it Bex, Bex, was she was out of the country for a while, and she was just getting back to work, and then Donna and the doctor, obviously they were not on planet at all. They were off
Right.
doing Doctor Who stuff. But it was interesting the way that it started, even if impacting them. Whereas like the Doctor is like, it's funny that with the Doctor and Donna, that's where we get these weird like, oh, this is how my physiology works, and I just had to shut down some of my higher functioning, and now I can get my legs to work. Like
Yeah.
that kind of
Right.
stuff is just funny, classic Donna Doctor era kind of stuff.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it specifically makes me think of a thing where he got poisoned and he was like, I'm just going to make
Yes.
these other enzymes to make it go away and then
Right.
burp out a cloud and it's good.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like, to your point, Randy, about how it felt empty, I don't know what it was, but it was like, first of all, it just was in this building, and it seemed like nobody was hardly there in the building.
Right.
And then they had said that, like, there was really nobody outside either. Like,
Yeah.
and I think they had an explanation for it, but it's eluding me what that was. But they were just
Well,
like, there's nobody out here. What's going on?
They kind of established when they first went outside that like there was a little bit of pandemonium or something. People were like just getting out of their cars and running away, but you didn't really hear much of that. And then after that, it was just like people are scared, they're hiding in their homes or something. Was kind of the
Right.
throwaway explanation.
And jumping out the windows away from copy machines and elevators and things.
Right, yeah.
So this might have the dumbest death in all of Doctor Who. That's another thing. Like, it doesn't feel like there should have been a death resulted of this story, like necessarily. I mean, realistically, if people like suddenly became super dumb, yeah, sure. But like, a guy gets so freaked out by the vacuum cleaner, and it's clear it's just
Right.
to even the listener, it's a vacuum cleaner, and he's freaking out. So it's a little comical. But then I
Right.
think one of the characters is like, "You're tangled up in the ropes." Or in the cable or whatever,
Yeah.
and in the power cord, and then you
You're right.
hear window break. Well, he fell out the window, and it's like, did he seriously just kill himself because he was afraid of the vacuum cleaner? Like he fell out the window?
I mean, even pets don't do that. Come on.
Right, yeah.
That struck me as very goofy. I don't
Yeah.
think this is that Catherine Tate. I'm just hitting my notes real quick. Seemed a little stiff at first. I feel like, I don't know, she was fine by the end of it.
You're right.
Once you
Tennant
guys start
was very
flirting.
Tennant. He just Tennant knows what he's doing.
Oh, yeah.
He just slides into it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
It was okay.
I have a one comment that I had thought of when I was listening to it. It's very bold for a species to try and name themselves after like awareness or whatever. And I think that was their downfall. You need to be humble and be like, we're dirt, and then you can be okay.
Oh, in the end, they just weren't. I mean, literally, they were stupid because the doctor
Yeah.
didn't reverse
Basically,
the polarity, but he did something. So
I
it
was
only
waiting for
affects
that
them.
though.
Yeah, but no, they weren't super bright, and like they'd show up to humans occasionally. They're the cognoscenti, right? And what do they say? They're like, "You know nothing." It's like
You know nothing,
that's it?
Jon
You're just
Snow.
gonna shout,
Yeah.
"You know nothing." They're totally pretentious. Like, well, we're better than you when they're not very bright.
We were like Santa ha.
Yeah.
Right. At least I don't think, try to act like they're smarter than anybody else.
No, they know better. They're just like we don't need brains. We have military might.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. They
Yeah.
know what they are.
We're
Cognoscenti.
potatoes. We're strong and sturdy.
I did like the effect on the cognoscenti voices, though. It was interesting. It was kind of cool and creepy sounding.
But the better of the two was
Okay,
the
I've
number
got
two.
some notes on this one.
Oh,
So the
sorry, go
second
ahead.
one that we did was off of the 10th Doctor Adventures Volume 3. And so in between they had a Billy Piper because you've got to have Rose. So Volume 2 had Billy Piper. But back to Volume 3, they were like, back to our roots. We're going back to the Doctor Donna. And this first one this one that we did was the first one on the third volume, and it's written by James Goss, and it's called No Place. And the synopsis is, it's haunted makeovers, the home improvement show with a spooky twist. The Noble family are hoping to cast out a few spirits along with the old bathroom suite. Presenter Justin joins Donna, Wilf, Sylvia, and the Doctor for this latest edition of his reality TV series. Of course, Justin knows that any supernatural phenomena can be faked. Ghosts can't possibly be real, can they?
They got to do the classic, ended on a like, right?
Right.
Can they? But things aren't quite as they seem. Okay. This one, conceptually, man, there's right off the bat, there's two super interesting things that I'm very amused by. One is that it's essentially a found footage movie in audio drama form, which is fun. And two, Haunted Makeover. Listen,
Oh, yeah, that'd be a great show.
Yeah.
Max, Discovery Plus, whatever your crap
Yeah.
all your makeover shows are. You combine Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures with like one of your crap makeover shows. Haunted Makeover, I might watch that one. That sounds
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
That's just a good concept. How's nobody stolen that and made an actual show out of it?
Would they straight up tell you how it's done, too? Just like, listen, we get enough footage, something weird's going to happen, and we'll just accentuate it.
Right.
Yeah, all you got to do is like you stretch. It's the home makeover thing where they walk through the house and here's what we want to do and here's this and this and that, and then you just combine that with Ghost Adventures where you just stretch that out over a night.
Uh-huh.
Throw
Right.
some creepy atmosphere in there. It's perfect. It's good.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah.
This is definitely notable because you got the Doctor and Donna, but you also have Wilf
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
and Sylvia, which I don't think I
Yeah.
even realized was her name. The mom. Donna's
Right.
mom.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But
I didn't care for them pretending to be a married couple. It was weird and kind of gross. And
Right. Sure.
I wasn't that into it. So, yeah.
I was amused by it. I feel like they take it farther than they would. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, because they know it's going to be funny to us. But they take it farther than the characters would. And it's kind of playing on the, like, they're always like, oh, no, we're not married. Like, they're so
Right.
insistent. But now they have to pretend like they are. But it is still a little funny with how far they take it.
Not
Yeah.
until you pay the love toll.
See,
Right.
That I was like, I don't think the Doctor, I mean, unless he's really tried to make her mad, I don't think he'd take it that far.
Right.
But it was funny.
Yeah.
So I'm in between on that. Like, it was amusing, but I do think they would not necessarily actually take it that far.
Yeah. And, well, kind of really along that whole thing, I don't know. There's been crap stories before, but it seems like it was lots of fun, and that's the reason that I liked this one and remembered it. Well, plus I listened to it recently, but I liked this one more than the last one because it was fun. But it was kind of bonkers too, and I'm like, what? This is all a stretch and doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, in the end.
I like the setup that you don't know why, because it's one of those stories where you don't come in with the doctor and their companion. You come in through a third party, and it's not just the doctor there, it's the doctor, Donna, and her family. Like, they're all there, and they clearly know something's going on, and you don't, and you're like, wait, but what is this? What's happening?
Yeah.
Because you're so used to, like, arriving with the doctor, and the doctor, oh, something's going on, we need to figure this out, whereas opposed to, like, they're clearly up to something.
This was the opposite of the last one in that. The last one is so one note. It's like, people are getting scared of technology. There's an alien force that's making that happen.
Yeah.
But you were also right to, like, know that I was going to like this one because it's a horror story.
Right.
And I liked it. It had good creepy atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really deviate from the. They even had to do the found footage, and it's audio obviously, but the found footage thing of, like, you're still recording. Yes, I record everything. It's just like explaining why we're still hearing this.
Yeah.
But I think that device worked pretty well.
Yeah, I was slightly annoyed by their, like, this is when the audio, whatever's heard sounds. And I'm like, dude, you can't hear nothing there. At least if you're going to play something, and, like, make there be a sound that's sounds like something, not just like a bloop, like an actual word. So that kind of annoyed me. But other than that, I guess maybe that probably annoys me about actual ghost hunting shows too. So there you go.
I liked Wilf in this. Wilf's always great. He's super like still just overly emotional, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like, especially when you first come into the story and you don't know what's going on, and it's clear, like why is Wilf and Sylph, why are they there going along with this? And the way he's acting is kind of super creepy, like weirdly emotional and nostalgic. And it's like, what are you talking about?
You can stop this anytime, man.
Right. I don't know. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it surprised me how many times during the audio drama people were just like, ew! They did that like a few times. That was a little strange.
There's definitely some loud parts too. It gets a little intense at times. There are some really standout ideas in terms of, like, creepy, since it is kind of a horror story. Creepiness. I had a hard time kind of visualizing this pit, but I also don't think I understood the scope of the building they were talking about till later, when they're talking about this was a ballroom, and this was like,
and there's a theater. Like, this place is huge.
Yeah, I was like, this ain't just a house. Like, I don't think I quite comprehended the scale till later into the story.
Yeah, because you think haunted remodelings, you're like, oh, it's just, a big Amityville house or something, not like a freaking castle. But then again, we're not in Europe, so there you go.
Right.
I think just castles laying around.
Right.
They do.
But I had a hard time kind of visualizing this, like, pit, and, like, they went down and there's, like, a cellar, like with a jail cell or something, like this whole thing. But it was cool, and anytime they went down there was kind of super creepy. I really liked when they went down there and the guy's crew all start crying, although some of the performances were a little comical if you actually listen to them.
Yeah.
But they're, like, whimpering, But the idea of, like, all these people, they just start weeping. That's creepy. There's some pretty cool standout moments, I think, like that.
James Goss writes a lot of, like, the Torchwood, and he doesn't write just Torchwood, but he has done a lot of the Torchwood audio dramas, and so it's he's pretty good at this modern Doctor Who era.
Right.
Matt Fitton is too, but Matt Fitton is much more like what you got, which is just like he's really good at like introducing a series or adding something that isn't going to be like the crux of it, but a nice little like stepping stone story or whatever. So it makes sense that he would write the very first audio drama that would just kind of ease you into the box set.
Right.
Right.
But I feel like this is a much stronger. Like this was also the first story, and I love it. And
Yeah.
I even like Sylvia, and like Sylvia's whole job is to be annoying, and it's like she's actually so good in this one that even Donna agrees with her, and to the point where like Sylvia's like, "Wait, you do?"
Yeah. Yeah, and they do a good job of making the Doctor seem super suspicious.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah, like the host of that show, like the guy, he's right to be suspicious.
Yeah.
Especially if like nobody's explaining to you anything, and he's not going to believe anything anyway because he's a skeptical guy. And like,
No one ever questions the Sonic, but this guy was like, "What is that thing, and what are you doing?"
Right?
Right. Yeah. The Doctor can seem real sketchy if you don't know him. Especially if it's clear at a certain point that they're like hiding something from you, or they're just acting a little weird sometimes.
Well, that one scene, he's like literally in the dark listening to them and just like, "Tell me more." Like he started getting pretty creepy himself.
Speaking of like characterization, the Doctor is good. You actually, I feel like, don't get as much time with him as you do anyone else, in a way.
There's a lot of characters in this one comparatively, so
Right, right. And it's fine. It's fine. It kind of makes the main character's distrust of him make more sense, too. Because I think you can only hang around the Doctor for so long before he's going to start over-explaining everything to you, He's that kind of
right.
Yeah.
guy. But yeah, I like Sylvia in this, too. I think she was well used for
Right.
her character is well used and appropriate. Also, what are spaghetti hoops? Are those SpaghettiOs?
That's SpaghettiOs, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The whole thing with the like slime that they'd sometimes see
Yeah.
sounded disgusting. And yeah, Wolf was good.
Always ruined their food.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, do we...
Well, to be fair, if I were some passed on entity that was, had a horrible ending, I'd ruin everybody's food too. And maybe a few other things. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Overall on this one, I like this one a lot for it was fun to listen to. It was intriguing, it was interesting. This definitely more so than the other one. I could see myself revisiting in the future. Just be like,
Oh,
I
yes,
kinda wanna
yeah.
listen to that. That was a fun experience. That said, once they explain things, it's
Yeah.
nonsense. It's just,
Yeah.
like,
Sure.
in my opinion, it's total nonsense. It's like, wait, what?
And it's been
Yeah.
living in his head, and now he's causing creepy things to happen just because. What?
Yeah. They were like, I don't know how to end this. Let's shove 3 movies into one and make that the ending.
Right.
Well, it's like, it's Doctor Who, so it's not. I mean, not that Doctor Who hasn't done a ghost thing, but it's not a ghost. It's got to be alien something.
Right.
Psychic energy.
That's what I also wanted to know. Is like, did they get footage of anything then? Like, if this was all psychic manifestations, then was anything actually visible? I suppose some of the
because-
telekinetic stuff would be, but like
Yeah.
the goo that wasn't even there.
Right.
Maybe not the goo, but for sure the like weird basement thingy or whatever it was
Sure.
would have been. And then I was very confused when they were in that one musical room or whatever. Then there was like stuff going on a chalkboard and some other things happening. I'm like, and like they're like, "Did you see that?" No, I didn't see it. I'm like, okay, but did the camera see any of it? I wasn't really sure what
Right.
the situation was there.
The Doctor had a great line because they mentioned flip chairs a couple times. So I'm assuming there was like chalk writing, and then all the chairs started flipping. So you hear a bunch of like kind of banging
Oh
and
yes,
stuff.
yeah, I know what line you're talking about. Yeah.
And I can't remember exactly, but he says something. He runs in and he says something about like, "What'd you do to anger these chairs?" or something like that.
Yes, yeah,
Good
that was
line.
so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the reveal, it's very Doctor Who, but it's also like so they set this up. The Doctor bought this property apparently. I mean, it makes sense. He probably
Sure.
Doctor can get money. Yeah, he never.
He
has
better
money.
be rich, man. Come on.
Right.
But so he bought this property based on what? Because so
He
seen
saw the show. Yeah.
and he's like,
Yeah.
well, there's definitely more weird stuff going on than should be. Something's up with this guy specifically.
Well, I don't think it was him as much as it was like Wilf, excuse me, and maybe Donna pestered him about it, because wasn't he the one that was like, I remember this guy, and now he's doing this ghost show and he's sad or something. I think that was
Oh,
the
yeah.
reasoning behind it, right?
And so also then this guy didn't remember. Did he not have any memory
No.
of his apparent of being there for
Oh.
years?
They did mention when they first talked about him that he was in a hospital and had amnesia and didn't know what had transpired or something.
Oh.
But I would have figured by now he would have figured it out, you'd think, or at least they would have told him.
Okay. Weird. Yeah, that seemed weird to me. Where I was like, wait, what? Why would the guy agree to go to this place and do the show if he had like
Right.
And you would think being there would, even if he somehow didn't have recollection, you think being there would have triggered it.
And they
But-
kept
Yeah.
talking about the things that would have maybe triggered that memory. You know, like
Yeah.
Sylvia would talk about how she forced Donna to come do piano lessons or whatever there,
Right.
or maybe it was Donna who was telling the story. And Wilf would always talk about the garden and the bulbs. These bulbs are under here.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, I imagine on a re-listen, a lot of their kind of weird behavior, when you know, because it's a good chunk for me. It was a good chunk of the story before I was like, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of focus on this guy, and
Right.
they're being
Yeah.
weird, and so there's something with the guy. The specifics I wouldn't have necessarily guessed, but it becomes clear it's about the guy.
Right.
And they even talk about, they kind of cryptically talk about like, this is taking too long. It's just kind of being cruel now and blah blah blah.
Right.
But some of the earlier in the story weird behavior, like Wilf, like it's even in this review I was talking about how Wilf seems kind of creepy and it weird. But I think on a re-listen you're like, oh, he's just like in his Wilf way trying to like not so gently like, hey,
Right.
Yeah.
Nudge things along. Yeah.
It just seems weird. It would seem weird to the guy, I guess, too. If he is like, what's with this guy? Okay. Well, maybe it's not as weird and plot holy as I thought, but even when I thought it was weird and plot holy, I still really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
This was my favorite of the 4 things we did for this.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, this is the one that I have revisited this one, and it was just as fun the second time around. So
Yep. This is the one.
Right. Does their behavior seem like, I mean, it's got to be a very different kind of experience going into it, especially the first half or so.
well, to be honest, it's been a while since I listened to this.
Right,
Like I listened to it when I first got it, and so like I'm kind of re-experiencing that. But it does start to like tie that all back together a little bit better on the second listen, even with as much time.
Right.
I'm a sucker for good, creepy Doctor Who audio drama because I think audio drama really works. I think it's great for creepy stories, and it
Right.
also works for
Weird time
counterintuitively,
loopy
maybe.
stuff.
What's that?
Weird time loopy stuff. It's really good for.
Oh yeah, and like small ensemble cast in a limited location like this, because it makes me think of like the best Doctor Who audio drama.
I was going to say that also, crossed my mind as I'm listening to it. It's like, hey, it's all about a kind of a creepy old house.
Yeah.
Chimes of midnight.
Yeah. I think those kind of stories work exceptionally well in audio medium. Anyway, okay, great. That was good fun. Next month, how many months do we have before the 60th anniversary? When is that?
It's got to be coming up. Maybe not though. They have several. They just gave us a new trailer this past week or whatever.
I want to make sure that's right. November. 3 specials are set to, if this is, November, they will air.
So we've got a lot of time then.
You're right.
And we only have 2 episodes of TV left, right? Or
no, there's a couple.
oh, okay.
Let me pull that up real quick. Doctor Who Series 4. Okay, so we've got a good. We've got okay. So the what we will talk about next, the next Doctor Donna segment will be Silence in the, assuming we're doing TV,
Oh, yeah.
Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead.
Okay.
Then we've got Midnight and Turn Left, and then The Stolen Earth and Journey's End.
Oh, okay.
So we've got 3 episodes worth of TV shows left. If we,
So that's
count
June,
them.
July, August. So we'll probably need to revisit a few more alternate things to get
okay.
us to November. So
I'm down for. Yeah, no, that's all right. I mean, we don't have a lot of. Donna makes appearances in some other. It seems like if she pops up in comics, it's in like multi-Doctor stories or at least stories with multiple companions.
Mhm.
There is one other story I think I have in the third omnibus where like it's essentially a cameo where the Doctor, it's a flashback to it's like a 1-page little like flashback to an adventure he had with her that ties into the story, and I was like, that's like a cameo at best. That's not really a
Right.
Dr. Donna story.
there is a Donna Noble Big Finish audio
Right.
that is just her. Which I think the only problem with that is it's a box set, and I think it's more episodic in terms, not episodic in terms of being one-offs. I think it's a through-line story. So like you kind of have to listen to the whole box set.
Right.
Yeah, that was kind of my worry with some of the finding some of these in the first place, but I was glad that these were so like one-off
Right.
Yeah.
episode style. I know we've talked about this before, but the Big Finish format of it's just like the TV show. It starts with sometimes it starts with a little like a cold open, like in this case it was like a promo for the show or whatever.
Yeah, yes.
And then you get the classic the Doctor.
It's
appropriate-
always the theme from that era too, you know.
so good. And then you get the whole story. You don't. Well, I mean, they probably don't worry about commercial breaks over there, but you don't have to worry about commercial breaks. And then it's over, and you get the theme song outro. It's so good. It's just perfect. And I really like that.
It's amazing, but we have to finish this, so let's wait.
Okay. So yes. Anyway, let's return to the show for the next installment, and it'll be the introduction of one river song,
Ooh.
the best river song story, I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
agreed.
yeah. Because River Song in totality sucks.
Yes.
They blew it all in the intro. They were just like, "Oh, that's an interesting concept," and then you try to see them play it out, and it's like, "Oh no, not so good in practice."
Yep.
Off it. All right. Well, hey,
Yes.
Grawlix podcast listeners of the audio feed, thanks for listening. Trying to get more episodes out for you on the audio feed. I hope you're enjoying it. I've been enjoying putting them together, so it's nice. A little reinvigoration. If you want to hear more, go to grawlixpodcast.com. Also, we live stream this. You should be there at the live stream. We live stream just about every Thursday evening. So hit us up on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook /Grawlix Podcast.
Grawlix.
All right.
Watch it, spaceman.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, nobody's Grawlix.
What was that one?
From some like a hot.
Okay. I don't know why that made me think of this, but I'm just burning to Grawlix you, baby. Is that the phrase?
Oh
I'm
my.
just burning to touch you. I'm just
Yeah,
burning
that's
to
it.
Grawlix you.
That's from Crybaby. I know that one.
Okay, I thought you might.
Uh-huh.
All right, back to Grawlix nights. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, all night, all night, all night.
That's right. That sure was amazing.
It sure was.
It was. You know what else is amazing?
What?
Accidental discoveries. So, a guy was testing his new thermal camera when he noticed that a patch of mushrooms appeared cooler than the surrounding vegetation. So, like you do, he contacted his friend at the University of Puerto Rico and then a team of molecular biologists at Johns Hopkins University to look into it more. It turns out that outside of animals and plants, there hasn't been a whole lot of research into temperature or thermal regulation. But they soon discovered that mushrooms, mold, and yeast all maintain lower temperatures than their surroundings. They use a process called evapotranspiration, which is fun to say, which is just, but it's just releasing moisture into the air. But anyway, using that, mushrooms on average were 5.2 degrees Fahrenheit or 2.9 Celsius colder than the air around them, and some species got 10.6 degrees Fahrenheit or 5.9 degrees Celsius cooler, which is crazy to me. 10 degrees
Right.
cooler than the surrounding area. So the researchers were even able to fashion a cooler powered by mushrooms and have since become curious about their ability to help cool natural environments as the climate rises.
Be a lot cooler if you did.
Right? So they're not sure the reason that they keep themselves at cooler temperatures, because like even in freezing temperatures, they still are cooler. But they assume that it's something to do with helping the spores spread into the warmer surrounding air.
It's crazy because that makes me think of The Last of Us and that whole cold open about why that apocalypse happens, and it is basically that the mushrooms can't survive in the hot temperatures, and that's the whole thing, is like they adapt to the point where they can.
Oh yeah.
Right.
It's like, oh,
Yeah, I mean, nobody says that it's not possible. And yeah, I think even like growing wise, they are definitely bound by temperatures, but I don't know with the spores, like if it's that, if I shoot my spores up and the air up there is warmer, they'll travel farther than they will by the colony where it's cold. That makes sense to me too. So, maybe it's that they have to wait for the air to be warm enough to spread their spores farther that they can get into different hosts also. I don't know. Thoughts?
Those are some pretty cool shrooms.
Yeah.
pretty cool, yeah.
Well, I mean, and mold and, what was it? Yeast.
That's it.
Don't forget.
I'd say they're cool and fun. God.
Oh, you're a fun guy. Oh, man. You didn't leave much room for that one.
Nice.
Nope.
Oh,
Mushrooms
but
be
not
crazy.
They are.
mushrooms be crazy.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. That is amazing.
Yeah. If we ever manage to colonize other planets, which I currently don't think we'll ever be able to do because of our microbiomes and how dependent they are on life that is earthbound. But anyway, so if we were able to, we would need to grow our houses from mushrooms, because we would never be able to move that much product to build ourselves houses and stuff, but we could grow them out of mushrooms. So,
Like Smurfs.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. They were like, must have been future people, future alien people.
They're like tiny avatars.
No.
Whatever those things are called.
I don't know what they're called, but it doesn't matter.
Not something.
The yeah, something. I wish I didn't know. There's no reason for me.
That movie was visually stunning. Come on!
Yes, it was visually stunning.
I couldn't even finish it without laughing. It was visually stunning.
I never seen the sequel.
I haven't seen it yet. I plan to, but I really should have seen it in the big screen because it's really all those movies are great at is
right.
Yeah.
I
the
mean, isn't that
visuals.
like they're leaning on that.
When is the second Dune movie coming out? Because that I am excited for, but that's just because I read like so many Dune books. It's sad.
I just looked this up for you the other day. November 3rd.
Okay, thank you.
Hey-oh.
Yep. Yeah, we were just talking about this the other day. Yeah, no, Dune was great. I am excited. I'll watch the second Dune.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how you can say that though, because every time I'm like, but after this and this and this happens, then
I just gotta not listen to you.
Oh yeah, you're pretty good at that too.
Oh, come on now. That's nonsense. I'm the one who can say that. The fact that you were like, when's Dune 2 coming out? The guy just looked this up for you there.
No, because I do listen to you. My brain doesn't retain anything. That's the difference.
I listen. My brain just doesn't.
Right.
All right. This was a long stream. Should have known better. I shouldn't have started talking about nothing at the beginning. I think I'm definitely going to chop that audio into 2 pieces. 'Cause why not? Why not?
Because we got talking about Doctor Who. Weird.
Right. Jesse, you got anything exciting coming up you want to mention before we bounce out of here?
No.
That magic spoon. You know what? I wish you had some magic Grawlix.
Grawlix. Boy, I wish I did too.
Spoogrelix. That's how you say it. Spoogrelix.
Grawlix. It rolls off the tongue. It rolls out of the back of your throat.
Made out of natural something.
Natural spoon.
Spoo.
It sounds like it's bad, but it's just spoo.
It's just good. There's a lot of protein in it. Mm-hmm. It says so on the box.
Barely any carbs.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say, what would our cereal shapes be? But I think it's obvious. The obvious thing would be to
That would
do
be like
the symbols,
little hashtags, ampersand, a percentage sign somehow.
Yeah. No, yeah, you could definitely do it.
Man, we should make a cereal. God, it would taste either great or awful.
You know what, Randy? You and I are so lucky that we never had a set of twins, because if I ever did, I had decided I would name them ampersand and asterisk. And so we
Asterix would just get totally hosed on the nickname department. Like
I was
that.
gonna say they would love you for that.
Well, that's part of the point,
Asterisk.
You got to name them something they'll hate, so that in the future they have a reason to resent you.
That way, when you're thinking back on it, you're like, you know what? It's not because I'm, there's something wrong with me. It's just because of the name.
It wasn't I didn't traumatize them. I just named them something traumatizing.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. The numbers have fluctuated, but more than usual, so that's appreciated. I know, like, if anybody is ever watching this from the Facebook group, I know you can't. I don't think you can comment from there or something. Just remember, if we're streaming to the Facebook group, Facebook.com/group/Grawlix Podcast. If you hit up the Grawlix Podcast, the regular Facebook page, you can comment from there, and we'll be able to see it and throw it up there. Yeah. But all right, thanks everybody. Grawlixpodcast.com. Magic Spookrolix.
The cereal's so good that we taped our logo to it.